don't know, I feel like 4 shows in, we should probably have some sort of introduction roughly worked out, and I feel like all we do is just go, I have no idea how to start a podcast. So maybe that's how we start podcasts, by saying that we don't know.
I mean, I could start singing.
No, nobody needs that.
And I always forget how to do an intro. Yeah.
Welcome to Wargamers Anonymous, ladies and gentlemen, with me, Captain Pickle, and my amazing co-host, Mr. Elston from Elstonation. This is Wargamers Anonymous, your one-stop shop for all things wargaming and food and books and general randomness.
We are the Walmart of wargaming.
Yes, it's like we are, if we were described as a shop, I think that we would be the middle aisle in Aldi. That's just full of
Power
random
tools,
stuff. Sometimes it's amazing, and other times it's just full of junk. That is what we are. We are the middle aisle in Aldi or Lidl.
We're right next to the meat and nuts, but we're also power tools, socks, and cleaning equipment.
Yeah. So welcome to the podcast. If you enjoy this show, then be sure to leave us a like or leave us a review. You can follow us anywhere where you listen to your podcast, but that's Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else. And we will soon, I know we keep saying it, but we will soon be coming to YouTube, I promise.
We will definitely be coming on YouTube.
Yes, I've got a lot on at the minute, but it is on the top of my to-do list.
To come on YouTube.
Yes, that is... phrasing. And as of this episode as well, you'll also be seeing some amazing artwork, which is being done by a good friend of mine, Hannah, from Idle Scribblings. I'll put a link to her Facebook page in the show notes.
Very, very nice.
Yes, so there's myself as Traz in the Infinite and Elston as a
world eater.
A world eater.
Primacy guy.
Amazing.
Yes.
So yes, that's the brand new artwork for the show, which I am very excited to have on show and be showing all you guys.
Hopefully as well, if I've got some time this weekend, I will try and get the Facebook page up together with some of the artwork, and we shall hopefully get links out to that. So if you want to come along and have a look at the Facebook side of things, we shall hopefully have that ready for you by the end of the weekend. So by the time this is out, it should be ready. Hopefully.
Absolutely fantastic.
If it's not, maybe next week.
Brilliant. So we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do before we get on with the show. I just want to say that on the last episode we reviewed beef jerky for our snack attack segment, and I'd forgotten who it was that had recommended it. That was in fact Boffnet from our Discord. He was the one that recommended that. So Boffnet, thank you very much for recommending beef jerky. I have absolutely loved it, and I have had, I think, 4 or 5 packets since that episode as treats in the week. So
Pickle is now addicted to jerking.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Yeah, so massive thank you to Boffnet, to Paul, for recommending that. And if you've got your own suggestions for Snack Attack, make sure to chuck them down in the Discord or get in contact with us in any of the other ways that you can.
Also, as well, we have one of the suggestions for Book Club is going to be on today's show at the end when we get to Book Club as well. So I will tell you more about that when we get there.
Brilliant. So, moving on with the show then, we should probably get on to what have we been doing. Elston, what have you been doing? I know you've been on a bit of a building marathon the last few episodes. Are you still on with that?
I am still on with that. However, the pile is getting smaller and smaller as we speak. I've made some executive decisions to scrap a project, rather a large one, that I was hoping I was going to do. I was hoping to do a Eldar Ynnari army, which was Ynnari army. It sounds like a Japanese food, doesn't it? Ynnari army.
It sounds like a kid's TV show for like a Saturday morning.
Right.
Hi kids, it's time for Ynnari Army. Yay!
It sounds like one word. Ynnari army.
Yeah.
I've made an executive decision to scrap that project because it's a massive one, and you know what? I don't need it. I've had a look through the codex for Eldar as well, and I'm like, nope, nope. Far too complicated to do that stuff. So I am opting out of that one. So that is now going into the pile of get rid of stuff. And this weekend I will be working through trying to sell some stuff as well. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of a video on that as well, on my little process of selling things. And we'll see how that goes. That's pretty much it for me this week. How about yourself, old Joshy boy?
I've been super busy. I finished all my Marvel stuff that I've been working on. So the core box is completely painted, base, everything. That's all done. There is a video coming out on that. I'm way behind on videos. And then as well as that, I've also just yesterday finished building my first ever gaming table. And there'll be a video coming out for that as well. I am so happy with it. I've done it with Luke. I've had advice from him, help from him, but I have planned it all, done it all, designed it all. So I feel very accomplished right now.
Nice.
And I'm looking for. I've literally just this morning spent the first couple of hours that I've been up starting to edit that video and get that ready to come out at some point in the next week or so.
Nice. You got that little bit of dopamine hit for completing a project, right? And it's just like, oh, yeah, I'm good.
Well, that's it. I need to get the same sort of dopamine hit from finishing some videos, though, because I've currently got...
Right.
I'm in the process of editing like 5 different videos at the moment. 3 of them for work, 2 for my channel. And I've not got any of them done. So I need to get cracking and get some videos done.
Yeah. Same here as well. I've I exported all my files for my building video as well, and it took 3 hours. I'm just like, oh, it's like 250 gig. I'm like, oh.
So that's what I've been doing for video projects. I've built a gaming table. I finished painting all the Marvel stuff. Well, all the Marvel stuff from the core box. I've still got a lot of other stuff to paint. As well as that, I also did a conversion. Over the last couple of weeks, I did a conversion on my live stream the previous Wednesday of a Ultramarine slaughtering a Necron. And then over the weekend afterwards, I painted that up. I spent a couple of hours just sort of painting something just for me, just to enjoy painting rather than filming and stuff. And that's all finished and done now. I'm actually really happy with that. Used an oil wash on it. It's the first time I've used an oil wash on a miniature. And my God, they are the future.
Yeah, oil washes are amazing.
Yeah, really enjoyed working on that, even if it was an Ultramarine. I'm quite happy with that. If you want to see that, you can go and check out my Instagram link. I'll put a link in the show notes and description and stuff. But yeah, that's about it from me.
Wunderbar.
Yeah. Nice. So fairly busy.
Nice. Well, we've got an action-packed topic this week, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, you're gonna take the lead on this one a little bit more than me, just because you're a bit more of an expert than I am.
Yeah,
but I'm looking forward to talking about this. So, when was it? Last week or the week before? Whatever it was, at Adepticon. Games Workshop had loads of announcements and trailers and previews and all that sort of stuff. But the one that we're going to talk about mainly today is Horus Heresy. Now, I'm going to get my talking out the way first, because as you can tell, Elston's got quite a lot to say on this. I have never played the Horus Heresy game. I've never bought and painted any of the Horus Heresy miniatures. I've read some of the Horus Heresy books. I've not read all of them, but I have read a good chunk of them. Well, I say a good chunk of them. It was a good chunk of them when I finished reading the last one that I read, but that was about 10 years ago. So it's not anywhere near all of them now. Nope. But so I know what the Horus Heresy is. I've never looked at the game, so I've no idea how it plays, how the system compares to 40k or Age of Sigmar or anything like that. And I'll be honest, I don't really know what this update, what this new edition, whatever it is going to bring. So, with that being said, I'm going to hand you over to Elston. He's going to talk about it. And then, after he's talked about it for a bit, and I stop him, Then we're going to talk about what we would like to see from the new edition of Horus Heresy and our ideas, and just none of this is obviously rumours or anything like that. This is all just our sort of what we would love to see from it and what we would love to see from a game system. But with that all out the way and being said, I'm going to hand you over to Elston now, and he's going to just verbally diarrhea about Horus Heresy everywhere.
Oh, I'm excited about this one. All right. Okay, let's talk Horus Heresy. Let's start off with what is the Horus Heresy. So, what you may well know from Wargaming, if you're into Games Workshop of any kind of form, there is a game system called Warhammer 40k. That is based in the 41st millennium. So 40, 41, yeah, explain the logic. Anyway, that's how apparently time is worded and listed. The Horus Heresy is based in the 30k era, so it's 10,000 years before Warhammer 40k. So, apologies if you already know all this stuff, just teaching you to suck eggs right now, but for people who don't know, it's worth a bit of an explanation. So, what happened in the 30k era, there was this guy called the Emperor, and the Emperor was the dog's bollocks, basically. He was the pinnacle of humans, and he got all kinds of smart and all kinds of clever and all kinds of stuff. And he was like, you know what, I'm a little bit tired of humans fighting each other, because what could we do if we didn't fight each other and fought everyone else? So what he did was he bitch slapped every other human that wanted to fight every other human and said, no, we're going to fight everyone else now. And they were like, oh, okay, no, we don't want to do that. So then he shot them. And then everyone that was left went, ooh, I don't want to be shot. So, okay, I'll follow this guy. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the unification wars of terror. Anyway.
That's like the briefest explanation I've ever heard. Fantastic.
Right? Right.
There was just this guy, and he just shot loads of people, and others didn't want to be shot at the end.
Exactly that. So, with the Emperor, he wanted to get rid of religion. He wanted to get rid of all this warring stuff, all this stuff which would cause wars with human race, and he wanted to basically unify the human race and claim the galaxy as theirs. He believed that the galaxy was humanity's right to conquer it, and it was theirs. So he started messing around with things and started messing around with human physiology and stuff, and he created these things called the Thunder Warriors. So, brief side note, Thunder Warriors were like the prototype for Space Marines, and then once he was like, okay, prototype's a little bit like it's messed up in some ways, he then created the Space Marines. And these are the ones you know and love in Warhammer 40k. So, right, this is early era Space Marine stuff, and the Emperor has unified terror. He's got his Space Marines, and he's like, right, let's go. So he assembles en masse all these Space Marines, and he's preparing to go into the galaxy. What he does, though, is he's like, right, I'm going to need some leaders for this. So he creates 20 Primarchs. They're not the shop in the UK. They are big-ass demigod superhumans. And these 20 Primarchs were going to be the generals that were going to go out and lead the Space Marine legions, and they were going to conquer the galaxy. However, in the Warhammer universe, there's this wonderful thing called Chaos. Chaos is mainly run by gods of absolute messed uppiness, and they were like, no, we don't want that, because no, we want to do stuff. So they were like, right, okay, we're going to mess with you. So they took the 20 Primarchs and just launched them across the galaxy. If you can imagine a Kaplunk that's gone wrong, that is kind of like a micro version of what happened with the Primarchs. It pulled the wrong straw out, and and all the Primarchs went flying all across the galaxy. So thousands and millions of miles away, and yeah, they all landed on their own planets. So the Emperor was a bit sad about this. He was like, oh, well, my generals are gone. Okay, I best go do it myself. So he went off and took all his legions, and then he found all the Primarchs again. So yay, happy times. And they all got reunited with their legions. Only problem was all the Primarchs were not brought up and trained by the Emperor. They were brought up by their own homeworlds. So they all had their own kind of traits and stuff going on. Don't worry, I'm getting to wargaming. I'm just telling you the story in the briefest version as possible.
I'm enjoying you trying to tell the entirety of the Horus Heresy in micro format.
Yeah, there's like 50 odd books that are all at least 400 or 500 pages each, and I'm condensing it into, I could assume, a 7-minute conversation. Anyway, all of the Primarchs got found, but they all been brought up on their own homeworld, so they all had their own quirky little traits that maybe the Emperor didn't necessarily want. There's some, aka the Butcher's Nails. You, if you're World Eaters fans, would know about that. So, the Primarchs got reunited with their legions. Also, as well, 2 of them got plunked and shot off and just disappeared. If you can imagine someone finding out a secret truth, putting it on Facebook, and then that person disappears. That is basically what happened to 2 of the legions. So 2 of the legions you will never know about. That's just an ongoing thing. Anyway, so all the brothers got all their legions, and they all started meeting with each other, and then they were all like, okay, cool, let's go. I'll go do this way, I'll go conquer this way, and X, Y, Z, and yeah, they went off and did their stuff. And then the Emperor was like, you know what, right, you guys have got this, I'm going to go back home and work on a secret project. Now, this didn't go down overly well, because these Primarchs, being genetically engineered demigods, have got the mindset of children. They were not happy about Daddy having secrets. And one of them got really unhappy about it. Well, many of them got unhappy about it. One in particular was like, no, I don't want to deal with it. No, it's not. I'm not happy. Because he had his way of doing things, and Daddy was not proud of him. Daddy didn't give him much support, so he was not happy. And then he was like, okay, right. I'm going to see if any of the other children want to be like me, or are the other children. And then he tried corrupting the other ones, and some of them got corrupted, especially the big guy, Mr. Horus. Mr. Horus was like that best kiddie, but he had real daddy issues. Mr. Horus was not happy about Daddy going away because he's like, but Daddy, I'm your favorite. You can tell me the secrets. And Daddy's like, no, I'm not telling you these secrets. And he was like, but I'm the best one. And he's like, I know, but you're still not that good. So the Emperor went away, and Horus got angry and mad. And he was like, you know what? I can be better than Dad. I'm going to be Dad now. So he went to all the other children, all the other Primarchs, and he was like, guess what? I'm going to be Dad now. And they were like, yeah, or no. And then we have this thing called the Horus Heresy, where basically the children of the Emperor are all having a bit of a strop with each other. And Horus is like, okay, I'm going to go take Daddy's chair because Daddy's got the big comfy chair. So he goes, right, I've got to go back to home and take Daddy's chair. Although Daddy's chair is surrounded by warriors, so I'm going to have to fight and kill a load of people to get Daddy's chair. And then all the other brothers were like, okay, well, I don't want Daddy's chair, but I don't like Daddy, so therefore, okay, I'll be on your side. And that's basically the gist of it. And that's the Horus Heresy in a nutshell, in layman's terms.
Brilliant.
Okay.
That was superbly done.
Right, let's get a little bit more into the in-depth nitty-gritty side of things. So, people that are familiar with Warhammer 40k and the Space Marines and all that jazz, Horus Heresy is set 10,000 years in the past. And what it is the 18 legions basically split in half. 9 of them go against Daddy, 9 of them stand with Daddy. And it's set over the span of 7 years of Horus turning into a bad guy and then going to try and take the Golden Throne off the Emperor. And then that time frame is just all the legions fighting with each other. Now, in Warhammer 40k, I've done a video series on this, believe it or not, which I'm actually going to revive for this new edition as well. Unlike 40k, the chapters in 40k of Space Marines are set to a limit of 1,000 strong. Some of them break it, like Black Templars and Space Wolves. They don't tend to care. In Horus Heresy times, there is no such limit on how many Space Marines you can have in your Legion. Chapter is different to a Legion. A Legion is much bigger. So a Legion can be set anywhere between 50,000 Space Marines to the Ultramarines were marking in at over 250,000 Space Marines. So the Ultramarines were rocking in at least 250,000 Space Marines in the Ultramarines Legion. They were the biggest out of the lot. Hence why the Ultramarines get such praise. So, Horus Heresy is this time where, in the Horus Heresy era, or in the Great Crusade era, the religious doctrines that you see in Warhammer 40k about Blessed be the Emperor were not about, because the Space Marines were told not to believe in any religion, and anyone that believed that the Emperor was a god was basically shunned and kind of outcast for it. They're like, no, you're wrong. There is no such thing as religion. There's no such thing as God. To think the Emperor is a god, you're an idiot. So they all got kind of shunned for that. So it was this beautiful time when technology could be experimented on. 40k, granted that's changed recently with Call, but in 30k, they were still developing new technology. They were still creating new weapons. They're like, ooh, this is a cool gun. This does this. That pops that guy's head. I'm going to keep this gun. So, and they just kept on developing it. So they had loads of crazy tech going on, and loads of different kinds of armaments. And they were like experimenting with their armor. So there was like different grades of armor. There's Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4, Mark 5, Mark 6. And some Mark 7s, I believe, were reported as being shown in the Heresy, but it kind of stopped around Mark 6. That brings us nicely onto GW's announcement about the Horus Heresy. Horus Heresy has been a game in its own right for a good few years now. I want to say like 10 years, maybe? Possibly? I can't remember when I first got into it. But it has been a game, and it was based on the 7th edition Warhammer 40k rules. Anyone who's played 7th edition, it's basically those rules, where vehicles had armor values and armor facings, guns all had like points of direction and stuff like that, and line of sight, and XYZ. There's a whole bunch of things. If you came into Warhammer 40k from like 8th edition onwards, it's a very different system. There are blast templates, there's scatter dice, there's all kinds of crazy stuff, like rules like Gets Hot. I don't know if that's still a rule, but there's loads of different rules, and it's based off of that. Now, what's been happening over the past 10 years or so is they've been piecemeal feeding out new legions, new rules, as things go on. So, the first books were, I think, the first 4 legions. And then there were 2 other books which followed kind of in quick succession. I don't want to say quick succession. There was like a year or so gap between them, which gave the majority rules for the majority of the legions. As the years have gone on, more books have come out with more rules, and now all of the legions all have rules. However, what GW have kind of cleverly done, have gone, right, okay, so maybe we didn't quite calculate the rules for this legion 10 years ago compared to what the new rules are for the new legions. You ever heard of codex creep and stuff like that? It's very much the same in Warhammer 30k. And that they've kind of gone, right, this is my guess, is they've gone, right, okay, this game system is a decade old, and the legions don't quite match up, and putting out erratas and FAQs has kind of gone a little bit crazy. So I believe what they've done now is they've gone, right, we can make a bucket load of money here, people. So let's take this, look at all the rules for all the legions, and make new ones. And we'll try and keep it all in line, keep it all balanced. That's a false statement. If anyone ever thought they could make a balanced game system for any game, you are wrong. You are wrong. Anyway,
so this new release then, does each legion have their own codex then?
Yes. Yeah. Well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So the main thing with Horus Heresy is the primary focus is Marines versus Marines, which I know is like a weird thing for a lot of Warhammer 40k side of things. So you're either like Marines versus Chaos Marines, or Tau, or Eldar, or all the other races. In this, it's Marines versus Marines, and that's the basic concept. There are some breakouts of that rule. Custodes, Sisters of Silence, and Solar Auxilia, also demons, are in Horus Heresy as well. Solar Auxilia, just to clarify that, that's the Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum, but it was called the Imperial Army back then. It wasn't the Imperial Guard, it was the Imperial Army, and the Solar Auxilia are the main thing that's been mentioned in the Horus Heresy when it comes to the Imperial Guard or Imperial Army. So, it's not just Marines versus Marines, you can throw some other things into the mix there as well. But the baseline, what's good about it in essence of there is a baseline rule set for all the legions. So I can't remember how exactly they phrased it, but it is basically you get a Space Marine army list. Now that Space Marine army list will have all of the units for a baseline legion. So that would include stuff like a Praetor, which is basically a captain or chapter master. Or a centurion, which is like a captain or lieutenant. It's like the next one down. But then you would have your troops units, your fast attack, your elites, your heavy support. And these would include stuff like the Leviathan dreadnoughts, the Diarrhea dreadnoughts, Terminators, jet bikes, all the other kinds of tanks, drop pods, all of that stuff, all the baseline stuff would be included in the rulebook. So you could run an entire legion without having to have a specific legion if you really wanted to. However, that's not a good idea because picking a legion is fun and you also get new units. So each legion has its own kind of army list. It's not quite as big as a codex by any means. You're looking at maybe, I want to say anywhere between 4 to 8 units per legion, like specific units that are only that legion will have those. And then you would get special characters dropped on top of that. And the special characters would include Primarchs, captains, stuff like that. So for a kind of link to 40k, Khan the Betrayer. Khan is in 30k. You have his version of him. But you have, for example, there's 2 versions of him. There's one where he is just running with his normal weapons, but there is a point where you could swap him out for him having one of Angron's axes. I think it's Gorechild. So Angron's got 2 big axes, Gorefather and Gorechild, and Khan takes one of those axes at one point. And that's Khan's axe. This is kind of the interesting thing about 30k, it's a little bit of a side thing. There's so much lore and story behind it. If you've read any of the Horus Heresy books, the rule books and the fluff books that go with it just expand on that monstrously. You get to find out all about the legions before they found their Primarchs, because a lot of them had different names. So, for example, the Death Guard, before they were called the Death Guard, they were called the Dusk Raiders. The World Eaters, that's it, I had to think of the name. The World Eaters, before they were called the World Eaters, are called the Warhounds. So there's various different things. You can learn all about that. I'm curious to see how the new book deals with that, or if it has any of that, if it has any of the old fluff in it, explaining about this. I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens with that. So, anyway, they have... Your legions have their own specific units, but there's not many of them. So the bulk of your force is going to be mainly normal Space Marine stuff. Obviously, you can model it and paint it how you want to. What you'll find as well, though, there are rites of war, which are kind of like chapter tactics and special ways you can design your army. And this will affect how your army plays. So, for example, Night Lords, there is one called Terror Assault, and you have Night Raptors and Terror Squads are the bulk unit, and the entire game starts in night fighting. And yeah, it kind of these rights of war will affect how you build your army effectively. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole as well, because this is the bit where I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen next. And this is for all the Horus Heresy players as well. I'm sure they're on the same kind of level with me. It's like, we don't know what's going to happen next. However, interestingly, there was a leak about the traitor rules. I had a read about that the other day, and I was like, ooh, this is going to be interesting. But I should probably explain, because I've been talking for about 20 minutes now, non-stop, about
I'm
this.
still here, by the way.
I know. It's fine. Josh is still here. He's still alive. I've got a little ticker on his heart. If it stops, I'll just shock him. To explain what's happening about the Horus Heresy, GW seem to have compiled all the rules, I'm guessing play-tested them, and now re-released it as a new game. What has built up the hype so much about this, I think, is everyone kind of knew this was coming. They kind of there's been whispers for a long time about this, but they did an incredible CGI little movie clip as an introduction to the Horus Heresy, and all the Horus Heresy fans, I hope, I'll explain about this in a minute, kind of went, and pretty much they're all just holding their breath now. There is an open day coming up. Me and all of my friends are like, we're going to this, and I've not been this excited about going to a GW thing, or been excited about a GW thing this much in a long time, to the point where I'm scrapping loads of projects to get ready for this thing, because I'm just so excited about it. So, there's a new edition, there's a new box set coming on the way. I believe what they're doing is they are taking the majority of the models that were created by Forge World. Also, as well, to explain, Forge World did the majority of the models for the Horus Heresy, so it was quite a pricey thing. I believe what they're doing is they've taken a lot of those and made them into plastic kits as well. So, it's made it quite tantalizing for all the Horus Heresy players, because now we're like, plastic kits, everything's going to be cheaper, we can play this game even more, yay! So, yeah, super excited. Josh, would you like to say something before my talking continues?
So I just want to talk about what this new edition brings, because as I said, I've never played the older edition, I've never played Horus Heresy before. I know the setting, and I know the general, Horus, it gets grumpy, and spoilers, doesn't end up winning, but sort of does, but sort of doesn't. But is there have they announced anything? Have they mentioned anything about how the game will play? Like, is it going to be a similar sort of thing, or are they going to do something completely different? Or
so, from what I've understood of the leaks and the rules and the way this is going to work, is it's going to be like 7.5 on the rule set. So I believe they're still going to be using 7th edition rules as the core. However, I believe they're going to take elements of like 8th and 9th edition and roll that into it. A prime example is in 7th edition, your vehicles would have armor-facing values, and they also have hull points or structure points. Structure points is for Titanics, hull points is for smaller tanks. So, for example, a Land Raider would have 4 hull points.
Yeah, it's essentially wounds, isn't it, though? Like, that's
yeah,
from older editions I remember playing, is basically like, depending on what side of the tank you shoot, depends on what you need to roll to get through it, because the armor's better.
Exactly that, yeah.
Like, and then
you would roll on a chart to see what would happen, whether it would lose a hull point or
a weapon or be immobilized, all that sort of stuff.
Exactly that. I believe that's staying. However, an interesting thing, I believe what they're doing is they're changing dreadnoughts to have a wound characteristic instead of an armor value, which I'm quite looking forward to be honest. Dreadnoughts having wounds is it sounds like a small thing, but it's quite an interesting one, because it switches up. The problem is with hull points and the whole armor value thing is if you did have a gun, which was a very good gun, you could pop a tank with one shot. And it was the most devastating thing to do if someone rolled that lucky. You're just like, oh, I give up. However, so Dreadnoughts not popping instantly is kind of good. I mean, there still could be guns that do that, but I like the idea that that's a nice change. The rules that I've read seem to have brought them in line, so I believe the majority of Space Marines have 2 wounds each now, I believe. I don't know too much else about the rules so far. All I've read is the Legion-specific rules. And from reading what I read the other night about them and talking to my friends about it, I think they basically buffed all the Legions to be very competitive with each other.
Yeah.
Over the years, a lot of the rules were designed in an essence of being what they call fluffy. So it's designed to fit with the Legion's kind of persona. However, that didn't always translate to a good thing in game. But what I believe they've done is they've looked at it, because they've got all the rules now for all the Legions. They're like, right, okay, this is obviously not a good thing. No one's taking this. Why would anyone take this? Let's sort it out and give them something better. So, by the looks of it, I'm hoping is all the Legions are going to be all very good. So that it's all competitive. There's always going to be ones which are stronger against others, and that's just it is. But yeah, I like the way it's looking so far from all the leaks that I've seen. Now, granted, everything that I've seen leaks wise is a leak at the end of the day, and it's a rumor. So there's an element of take it with a pinch of salt. I could be wrong. It could be completely different. And Games Workshop have bamboozled me completely. But so far, it looks like it's going to be. It looks like it's going to be very interesting. And hopefully they've tidied things up. There was some stuff in Horus Heresy which didn't make a massive amount of sense, but I think that's true for all war games. So I don't. Yeah. I'm hoping for with it that it's a cleaner, tidier game. I will. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry.
I will talk for another 15 minutes unless you stop me. So
all I was going to say is, like, with this being like a different game, like I've never played 30k, but with this I would have hoped for like something like completely different, like a radical change. Like I'm interested in the setting, and with them being plastics now instead, it's a bit more sort of financially viable. But I'm not really interested in playing like 7th-ish edition, because I played that when 7th edition was out. Like, I would want something completely different. Like, I would want them to like how Age of Sigmar plays very different to 40k, and how Lord of the Rings plays very different to like everything else. I would want something. I mean, if something like alternating turns or alternating activations, or like just something to make it its own system rather than just like
It's interesting you say that, because it's just actually twigged me on something which I forgot to mention, and I've only just remembered it now that you said it. There is this new thing called action points, which I don't know what they are, and we're all scratching our heads a bit with all my friends that we've been talking about. But there are reactions you can do in the game, as far as I can tell. So, and you use these action points. I'm guessing they're a bit like command points. To do things. So for one of them with the Night Lords, which I read, and granted this is all leaked stuff, so it could be wrong, there is a reaction that you can do, and you have to spend an action point to do this. If someone charges you, you can retreat and instantly regroup up to their movement. What that means is charging in Horus Heresy, I'm pretty sure works the same as it does in 40k. You roll 2d6, and that's the distance that you charge, effectively, if I'm remembering my 40k rules, right? Same in Horus Heresy. However, with the Night Lords one, where it said you can retreat and instantly regroup, is it says, okay, if they move out of charge range, the person can choose another target. But if not, they have to then roll the new distance that is made. So if someone goes to charge you, you go, okay, I'm going to use action point, I'm going to retreat as much as I can, and you could potentially move the charge from a 6-inch charge to a 12-inch charge.
Yeah.
And then if they don't make it, that's it. And it just, these action points, I think, are going to be the game changer out of the lot, because, again, you've got this interaction, because, to be fair, that was one of the downsides with Horus Heresy, is one turn had to go, and you got an absolute spanking, and then you just had to try and deliver another spanking in return, and then
it's the same issue with 40k that I find at the minute. Is the few games that I've had, like, first turn is so important.
Just get an absolute kicking, and then you're like, right, I'm not going to recover from this. Or,
yeah, I mean, that's how I win most of the games that I play, is to decimate as much stuff as I can in the first turn.
Yeah.
So that they've not got as much stuff to hit me back with, and then it's an avalanche from there.
You're a spanker extraordinaire.
Yes. Have they announced, like, have they said when we're going to hear more? When's this open day?
So the open day is on the 7th of May. Tickets go on sale. It'll be, I believe, on the 4th of April. So it'll be this Monday coming. So it'll be the day this podcast gets released. If we are on time with everything.
We should be.
Should be. Me and my friends are in a once in a rare lifetime experience, which doesn't happen very often. The entire group is set to go to this thing in my gaming group, which is rare that everyone is united to go to do something. So if I'm hoping I can go there. There are a couple of YouTube content creators. Mr. Broadsword Wargaming, Ollie, is going to be there, and I'm going to be photobombing as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, I know I've seen a few people saying they're going. I know Mikey from Elston Wargaming is going as well. There's a few people going. I feel upset that myself and Luke have not been invited. To be honest with you, I would imagine it's for people that are actively showing an interest in Horus Heresy. I know Ollie's got contacts at Games Workshop as well. So people on the inside.
Yeah, I've got to get on the inside of GW somehow. Inside.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. It doesn't sound like there's too much information out there. I thought there was a bit more out, but I guess that's cool. And all we can do between now and then is sort of speculate.
On the open day, they are going to have the game available to play, so you can test it there and then. So we will know more on that open day. So
when's the open day? May?
Yeah, May the 7th. I believe it's a Saturday, I believe. So,
what day is it? So, Monday, 18th. 2nd. So, it'll be like, if it's Saturday the 7th of May, we've got a podcast. We'll be recording the podcast the weekend after that.
Okay, cool.
So, we can talk about that on that episode, which will be out on the whatever date.
Yeah, whatever day that is. But
16th.
That sounds awesome. I'm super looking forward to that. So I will tell you more about that once I've been for the experience of an experience.
Cool. Well, that was a brief rundown on what the Horus Heresy... It's a brief. It's like the podcast is like 45 minutes long. So that was a brief rundown on what the Horus Heresy is, a brief history on the previous game and issues it had, and a little bit of a speculation as to the new edition. And we'll know more about that, hopefully, if Elston manages to get there. Then we'll have a big podcast, the next podcast after he's been, where you can spill all the beans and tell us all the things that you find out.
Forward to it so much. And sorry, everyone, I know I've dominated the talking in this one, so I do apologise. I'm just so excited.
That's fine. And with that, we'll end the main topic and we'll move on to our favourite topic, which is Snack Attack.
Yay!
So this is the Snack Attack section. This is where we rate and review snacks as wargaming snacks. So this is things like sweets, crisps, like anything like snacky, drinks, alcohol, whatever that you would consume while you're playing your favourite wargaming games. So if you've got any suggestions or submissions?
Yeah.
That is the right word.
I'm pretty sure you got that right.
Yeah, it just didn't sound right in my head. So if you've got any suggestions or your own submissions that you want us to try and review, then chuck them in the suggestions box over on Discord. This week, Elston, you have picked the topic for Snack Attack. So would you care to explain what we're doing today?
Today, people, we are talking about the one, the only, the very generic subject of crisps. We haven't chosen this because we forgot that we were doing Snack Attack. We have not chosen this because we forgot about Snack Attack. I just want to put that out
there. We're professionals. We don't forget about things that we do every week.
No. Sorry, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, for those of you listening in the US of A, crisps are chips.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For those of you listening not in the US of A, we're not talking about chips. We're talking about crisps. Just to confirm.
Exactly. So, yeah, chips and crisps. Chips and crisps.
Yes.
So, why did I pick the generic topic of crisps in general? Because this is going to be the beginning of the Crispathon.
The Crispathon.
Okay. The Crispathon is... here's the truth, okay. We got a suggestion a while back about trying tomato ketchup flavoured crisps. And we were like, cool. But it seems a bit weird ordering a packet of crisps online for that specific reason, because we've got to find it. Anyway, we're going to do it. Don't worry, we will do it. But I realised crisps is far too large. It's far too large to, like... we're going to have multiple types of crisps on a show. If this podcast is going on for a while, crisps are going to show up more than once. So I needed to start us off with the generic crisps. And then we can divulge into all the flavours accordingly. So, and textures and stuff like that. Because there's multiple different types. There's like the stick style ones. There's the frazzle style ones. Granted, I'm talking a lot about British chips, crisps here right now. So there are multiple types. And if you have suggestions for the specific types you like, let us know. Because that is much easier to talk about rather than a tomato ketchup flavoured one. Because one tomato ketchup flavoured crisp may taste different to another tomato ketchup flavoured crisps. Not all bacon flavoured crisps are the same, which makes me sad. Because some are awesome.
I've just ordered my tomato ketchup flavoured crisps.
All right, okay, I'll do that. So next podcast, we will definitely do the tomato ketchup flavoured.
I've ordered a 6-pack off Amazon. Because that's the smallest amount I can buy.
Hence why I was a little bit reluctant to do it as well. I was like, I don't... Because if I don't like them, I've got 5 more packets of crisps. So we're going to be like, what am I going to do with these? I guess I could give them to people, but
you could win them as prizes on the podcast.
Yeah, let's do that.
There you go. I've got 6 packets of tomato ketchup flavoured crisps coming to me, so they'll be ready for the next podcast.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about crisps in general, just to get as a precursor to set people up for crisps. So if any of you were like, but crisps are so diverse, this is the one where we're talking about crisps in general. And we'll give a rating just on crisps themselves, not flavors.
And then we'll give each different flavor or type of crisp that we do try its own score.
Exactly.
Because stuff like Doritos, they'll score. I imagine they'll score quite low on the finger residue scale.
Yeah, they get cheesy
because
stuff
they've got cheesy dust.
Yeah.
Whereas stuff like
Skips,
Yep.
squares.
They're big. And we also need to we've got a couple of extra sort of things that we need to put in when we're rating these. So we now have the finger residue scale.
Yep.
which each thing will get is. So we're going to give an overall rating, and then we're also going to give a rating on the finger residue scale, and also the the chew to weight ratio.
Yeah, chew to weight.
What was it?
ratio.
Let me find it. It was in the. Let me find it.
Yeah, I think it was chew to weight ratio.
It was something like that.
You're like,
Let me
how much
find
do you
the-
have to chew versus the weight, or was it chew to cost? Or I can't remember. Anyway, while he's doing that,
Yeah.
the crisp is a form of potato snack, which has either been oven baked, fried, however they produced it, and you usually get it in packets, and they are crispy, nutritious, probably not, to be honest, tasty, pretty much, high in salt, pretty much always, but they are a great snack. So they're quite common in the UK. I would say that crisps are a staple diet for most packed lunches. That if you have a packed lunch, packed lunches have a box of sandwiches or whatever, you will probably find a packet of crisps in there because
Crisps are such a good snack because, and I think it's because of the variety of flavors, of styles. Like there's loads there. Now there's some that are better than others. And to be fair though, like I have the same thing with pizza. Like even bad pizza is still pizza.
that is true.
And even like cheap crisps are still crisps.
Yeah, I think the thing which puts me off mostly about some crisps if they're banned is the oil consistency.
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but it can make your mouth feel really nasty. Like,
Yeah, the oil index.
yeah, let's go with that oil index in them. I think that's the thing. Unless the flavor is really, really like weird, I think the oil consistency or index is the next thing which really puts me off, because after you've eaten a packet, you feel like your mouth's gonna disintegrate, or it feels like you need to scratch the roof of your mouth, or it's just, ugh. Yeah, those are the main downsides for bad crisps. I would say out there. They are still crisps though. So
I think overall crisps, if I had to give crisps in general a score on like as a wargaming snack, I would say that crisps are probably a solid 8 out of 10 overall. Like in general, they are just a good solid choice.
yes, yeah. And
Now some are better than others, especially for a wargaming snack. But overall, I would say an 8 out of 10. We also got told off for doing decimal points on the scoring, so I apologise for that. Yeah, so we will just stick to full number scores from now on.
Okay, right. So yeah,
Someone told me off. They said, "Why do 0.5s? Why not just rate it out of 100 if you're going to do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, fair point."
Okay, right, fine. Yeah, I'd probably say crisps are high up there, 8. If you've got a bad one, I'd possibly even say go down to 6.
Yeah,
definitely above half.
Yeah, I think the lower scoring ones I would probably score as a 6, and like some of the better ones would be 9s, maybe even 10s. So I think 8 as an average for crisps in general is, I think, a good score.
And crisps in crisp can include. I'm gonna put this in as a little caveat, and I know I will possibly get some either hate or contradiction for this. Stuff like mini cheddars, I'm classing in the crisp category.
Yeah, you eat it like it's a bag of crisps.
Yeah, although people say no, it's a biscuit. You're like,
Well, it's the same thing people say that Doritos aren't crisps; they're nachos. It's like, no, they're not. They're crisps.
Nachos would fall into crisp category as well. I know you can have them with other stuff, but they're crisps.
Like if you have like a tray full of cheesy nachos, essentially what you're having is just a crisp lasagna.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I completely agree. 100%.
So there we go. Crisps rating an 8 out of 10. I think from me. And Elston, you said, did you agree 8 out of 10?
Yeah, I'd say 8 is a solid 8, but can fluctuate depending on the specifics. Hence why I thought I'd start us off with the generic crisp in general is on the 8 side of things.
And for the next episode, we're going to have the tomato ketchup flavoured crisps. So we'll be able to give them a unique score. We'll give them the weight to chew we'll give them the weight to chew ratio score. We'll give them the finger residue index.
Yeah. Oh, the oil index and the finger
on the
residue thing.
Yeah. Weight to chew ratio and the finger residue
contamination
and the oil
index.
Oil index.
Yes.
And then our overall score. So if you've got any other suggestions for other flavours of crisp that you'd like us to try, or just any other snacks or drinks or anything like that, please someone recommend some different drinks for us to try, because I'd be up for trying some. That doesn't have to be alcoholic. It can just be a fizzy pop or something. But
I mean, to be honest with you, alcoholic is kind of restricting when it comes to wargaming, because a lot of times you've got to drive home. So not always.
Yeah,
but
not always though. But yeah. So just chuck those recommendations over on the Discord, and we are working through them. We are starting to work through them. We've got a few in there, so we'll get to those over the next. And it's not just going to be crisps for a few weeks either. Like, we're going to do crisps next week, and then we'll do something else the week after, and we'll keep the crisp. What was it? The crispocalypse.
The crispathon.
Crispathon. We'll keep that going over every other week or every few weeks or something.
Yeah, cool.
Right, and now we are on to the final section of the show, which is our book club section. Now, a little bit of a housekeeping note on this section. Originally, I thought it'd be a good idea to have this in every episode, and then I've failed to finish reading a single book since we started doing this. So we might alternate between us. We might miss a show where we don't have a book club recommendation, depending on what we've been able to read and get through and stuff. And we might just do them as and when we've got them, and just have it as a sporadic section on the show.
Sure.
But we have got one for this week. Elston has taken a recommendation from the community, and he's read it or listened to it, and he's going to tell you a little bit about it and give his recommendations. So Elston, over to you.
Yeah, so So with this week's book club, I took a words come to me. Oh God. So with this week's book club, I took a recommendation from Bram over at the Discord, because last week we slated the dragon bat monster vampire thing from the Soulblight range, and Bram was like, well, if you're going to diss Laukavai, then I'm going to suggest this. So I took up the challenge, and I was like, okay, I take your challenge and I accept, with another gauntlet back to the face. So I listened to it. This is a book called The Dynasty of Monsters. It's a Soulblight Gravelords book from the Age of Sigmar range of things, and it is based on the vampires within the Age of Sigmar times of things. Now, with this, I was skeptical, to say the least. I have to point out, though, this before I get into it, is this determination to listen to a book in a week was really good. Was a really nice way to be immersed within a story, because I knew I had a week to listen to it. Mm-hmm. So every chance I got headphones on so I could listen to the story. And it doesn't break the immersion. If you're reading a book and it takes you a couple of months, you may leave it for a week, and therefore the immersion kind of goes away because you forget where you are. Sneeze time. But this instance was really interesting, because I was like, okay, and I plowed through the book in no time at all. I've got something rattling on my desk. That's wonderful. Oh, book club, how you will disjoint this recording. So, thank you, Bram, for suggesting this. It was very refreshing to just plow through a book. It was very interesting. It didn't break the immersion, and I feel like I enjoyed the book because of it. Now, when I first started listening to this book, I was a little bit not sure. Fantasy settings always are a little bit weird for me. They don't kind of they don't resonate that well with me. However, in moments during the book, there were battle scenes, and I can definitely see why a lot of the fantasy players played Warhammer Fantasy, because they're a bit where there's battles going on, and it really drew you into that that kind of mass battle, having like hundreds of troops all slaughtering each other and stuff like that. And I can really feel the appeal for fantasy players when they create armies of that size. And I was like, ooh, this is really getting me intrigued to like paint some armies up and stuff like that, because this is cool. Let me tell you a little bit about the synopsis, though. The concept of it is about a settlement called the Colonnade, and it is basically near a vampire city army. I can't remember their name. Avangoy? I can't remember that. Bram's going to slate me for this. Anyway, the synopsis is there's a war herd, so the Beastmen of Chaos are coming to basically just kill everything. And there are thousands of them. They are just coming to absolutely wreck face. Now, the Colonnade find out about this, and they are sitting there going, yeah, we can't deal with this. This is going to be too much for us. But we also think it's going to be too much for the vampires. So let's make an alliance with the vampires. And it's quite a nice amount of like political intrigue and like weird machinations going on of subterfuge and trying to play games with each other and stuff like that. But it had this nice resonance of old school vampires. Do you remember the Twilight days when everyone started thinking vampires were like sparkly people?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's none of that.
Good.
It was so refreshing. I was like, and they were kind of like scarily charming. So they're very poised and very, very considerate with their wording, but also very, hi, my name's Kavak. And it was just like this kind of like, oh, this is what I remember vampires being like. That kind of suave, sophisticated, but also a killer kind of approach to it. The one thing which did still weird me out was the weird bat dragon thing, yeah. Right? That's apparently all of the vampires now. Well, a majority of them. And I was like, right. I get confused because they're like, yeah, they walked along on their 4 legs, and then they had wings, and then the top half was a vampire. And I was like, this is weird. But I found out the reason why that is apparently they get turned into vampires, and then in Age of Sigmar there's a realm gate, but you don't go anywhere with it. When you go into it, it kind of reflects on yourself, and it is all about the embracing monstrosity is the common trend that goes through the book, and it's about people or the vampires fully accepting they're like, yeah, we're monsters, and we're proud of being monsters, and there's this wonderful thing of it's basically a form of racism in the Colonnade. They're like, no, you're monsters. You should all be purged. And the vampires are like, yeah, we know we're monsters, but we're happy being monsters. And are you happy being humans? Because if you were a monster, I bet you'd feel better. And it's the whole book is the kind of interlocking main story is about 2 brothers and a lady. The lady's called Atella, and the 2 brothers, one is called Kavak and one is called Jairus. One is a vampire and one is a bard, and the bard really doesn't like vampires, and he is scared, and he's trying to rouse the Colonnade to fight against the vampires, even though they're trying to make an alliance with the vampires. Kavak reports to the lady who is the model for the GW kit, called Laukavai, who is the mother of nightmares. And there is it's just a wonderful intrigue of old vampire stories versus humans versus another threat. And when the vampires get their bloodlust up, it's just cool seeing what they do, because they just go absolutely bananas. And it's a weird book, because I didn't want to like it, but I do like it. So
you did enjoy the book then, in the end?
Yeah, I did enjoy the book. It's not, as I said, I didn't want to, because I was like, oh, I've never really been massively into fantasy, but this was a wonderful book. It's not the longest of book reads. I think it's about 11 hours. So on the smaller side of things, but I really did enjoy it. If anyone's got any kind of interest in vampires and sort of truth and deceptions, sort of covered by a monstrous charm, it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, it explains a few things and explains why they look like reptiles, like dragon things. I still don't agree with it, but it did at least explain why vampires look like weird half dragons now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the Dynasty of Monsters by, I think it's David Annandale.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for your mini review on that, and thank you, Bram, for your suggestion for us to listen to that. I may give it a go at some point once I've got through the couple of books that I've got sort of waiting for me. I'm hoping to finish off Infinite and Divine by the time we do the next podcast, so that I can talk about that, and then I'm going to get on to doing Rain, because I'm really looking forward to reading that.
Nice. If anyone does have any suggestions for any other books they recommend, stick it in the Discord. We shall give them a look.
Yeah. And with that, we are at the end of yet another podcast. We've done it.
Time to go. I do apologise, everyone. I've dominated this one. It won't be the same every week. It's just I was excited this week. So
yeah, this was very much the Elston show. This week. Elston came up with the idea for crisps. Elston talked about Horus Heresy. Elston listened to the book. I'm just here today. I'm just here to help. But next show we'll have something that we can both get our teeth into a little bit more. We're hoping to have some guests on at some point soon. It might not be for the next episode, but definitely one in the near future. Got some cool topics to talk about.
Do you think we can convince Luke to come on the show?
I mean, I can't see it being that hard, really.
It'd just be weird talking to Luke over voice and no picture.
But we were talking to Luke and interviewing him almost, considering I work with him every day. But I can't see why not. But the thing is, like we've said before, we want to have guests on. We want to have a reason to have them on, rather than just for the sake of it. So we'll think of a good reason to get him on, and we'll sort it.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this Elston bonanza. If you have, be sure to leave us a like and a review. Share it out with any of your geeky friends that you think might enjoy it, and make sure you follow along as well, so you get updated whenever we release a new episode. It'll be straight in your basket. You can find me over on YouTube, on the Pickle Jar, which is my main channel where I post videos, usually every couple of weeks. It has been a while, but I've got a load of good videos coming up soon. And you can also find me over on the Pickle Vision channel, which is where I live stream every Wednesday evening and every other Sunday morning. Elston, where can we find you on the World Wide Web?
You can mainly find me on my YouTube channel, Elstonation. If you stick into YouTube search, I'm probably the only person with that name. And apart from that, this podcast and hopefully a Facebook page coming up near to you sometime soon. That is the main places you can find me. If you ever want to contact us for whatever reason, suggestions or whatever, head over to the Pickle Jar Discord or drop us a PM and we shall see what we can do.
Yeah, so thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day or week or whenever you're listening to this podcast, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks very much for watching, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye. Bye.
This is the other thing we need to work out how to do, is how to end a podcast.
I mean, I could deal with it the same way we went out or came in.
Nobody wants that.
We could. No, I'm sure they do want that.
This is how we ended.
This is how we ended. I bet you someone sung that during a moment of private time. This is how I ended.
Brilliant.